Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to the NWR Virtual Investor Conference Series 11. I'm your host, Banjo Blake, and joining me today is BirdDog. BirdDog is a global video technology company enhancing the quality, speed, and flexibility of video through a range of solutions. BirdDog is dedicated to making live television production easier, more cost-effective, and achievable in more places by more people. CEO Dan Mile and CFO Barry Callinon join me from BirdDog today to discuss the highlights of business activities and financial performance for the first quarter of 2022. Just a reminder to attendees that you are encouraged to submit questions via the Q&A panel on Zoom, which will be addressed at the end of the presentation. Welcome to the conference, Dan and Barry. Over to you guys.
Thanks very much, Banjo, and thanks very much to the NWR team as well. I think this is a fantastic forum for us to tell you what we've been up to and give you an opportunity to ask us some more questions. So today we'd like to talk a little bit about the overall part of BirdDog, how we go about business and what our target customers are and what we've been up to fairly recently. So in this presentation, we'll try and keep it relatively short and give you as much information as possible. But really, we'd like to start off with giving you some more of information about the company, a general snapshot of what we're up to. And then recently, in fact, just yesterday, I got back from the USA. There was a big trade show over there in our space, which is the broadcast and live television. So I'll give you some highlights on that. And then Barry will give you some information around our financial performance and year to date. And then we'll talk a little bit more about our strategy for growth in terms of products as well as revenue growth and really what that means as far as our funding to date and where things are heading. So I'll jump straight into it. And I think before we go too much into the metrics of what we have in the company, it's probably best to describe a little bit more about what we do and why we've been so successful to date. We use a technology pretty heavily, which is called NDI, which is Network Device Interface. And it's a method of sending audio and video over regular computer networks. That might not sound so special in the fact that there's YouTube and there's all sorts of streaming platforms out there like Netflix. But the difference in what we do is this is live video. So if you imagine you're in a sports stadium and you've got a large screen, someone's talking down on the pitch, that needs to go up onto that screen extremely quickly. That can't be done with typical network streaming. And so what we've done is mastered this NDI technology and built that into hardware and allowed us to send audio and video in a broadcast quality in ultra low latency and flexibility over a network. That's been really successful, and particularly over the last couple of years where social distancing has become a thing. We've been a successful company in the fact that you can have computers and cameras connected anywhere on the network and have them all joint together. The old way of doing broadcast video is to have specific cables running to each individual camera that you have. Now, that whole network infrastructure that's already in a building, already in a stadium, already in an office is ready to go for live broadcasting. So onto our products that we have. Currently, we have 22 products in market, but actually at the show we had last week, this NAB show, we announced another 6 hardware products. Now, in a company that's 5 years old, to announce 6 hardware products in one show, that's actually quite a big achievement, and we're really excited about that. I'll talk a little bit about how that has been successful. On top of that hardware, we're also focusing very heavily on software. You can see there that we have 12 software products, but we announced another 8 in this show as well. I'll have an infographic shortly, which will show you a little bit more about our strategy and as to why we have such growth in these platforms. From a structural point of view, we're on sale in over 100 countries, so really our products are available anywhere in the world in any of the developed broadcasting markets. And testament to the popularity of our products, we've already sold over 50,000 pieces, and that's growing. If you have seen any of our other previous presentations, that's growing month on month and quarter on quarter. We're seeing significant uptake in our products. I'll let Barry talk a bit more about the performance of the company recently, but you can see there our financial year to growth is in double digits, and also our revenue is on track as well, and profitability is there. In terms of products that we sell, we have a range of products, and it's really our 4 pillars, as we like to call it. We have our cameras. Now, what we've done is built in our technology directly into cameras, and these are called PTZ, or pan, tilt, and zoom cameras. And you can put them in a space and you can remotely control these cameras to frame up the shot by panning and tilting and zooming. Now, what we've done is by building in our technology, that camera just needs to be plugged in with a single cable, which gives the network connection, power, audio, video control, everything you need. So it's the convenience of these cameras is vast. And you can see in this little graphic here, we've got a whole range of these cameras, and they suit all sorts of markets from low end right through to high end broadcast. We also have converters. This allows you to plug in a computer, for example, via its HDMI port, or any existing camera, maybe a camera from Canon or Sony or whatever other company you'd like. and convert that into this NDI space and instantly make that camera available on the network. A growth area within our company is AV, and this is really big in general in getting AV over networking as well. Now, this is for corporate boardrooms, for event spaces, video walls, anywhere in a corporate setting. Maybe it's a museum or an event center. Having AV products that can interconnect to each other over a network is really powerful. The last bit I'll talk about our products is our software, and that really is the glue that makes these workflows work together. To have a piece of hardware or a camera sitting on a network is one thing, but having that software to control it and to access it and be able to have that video go wherever you'd like is the most powerful part of our offering, and we've been expanding heavily on that. Probably the most exciting thing about our company, I think, is the breadth of customers that we have. And there's a sample of some of the customers here in this slide. You can see some of the largest broadcasters in the world, some of the largest companies in the world, but then some interesting companies like the International Olympic Committee or Twitch or NBA. There's all sorts of companies using it. And that goes right down to education and college sports. We have a really broad set of customers. And that's something we really are very proud of. And it creates a great deal of opportunity within the company and a great deal of stability as well. To cut this sort of view a different way, effectively what we've been working on is enabling various different industries from live production and education through to post-production, which is for feature film and commercial editing, right through to corporate. We've been enabling them to do things in a much more convenient way. This outer ring of products is where we sit at the moment, and this is where our revenue has come from to date. It's between our hardware and software products that are all interconnected on a local network. The centering is where we're actually expanding to now, and what we announced at our NAB show last week is enabling any of our products to be accessed anywhere in the world without the use of additional computers, hardware, or additional software. So that means you can have a camera in Sydney and you can have a production happening in Los Angeles and directly connect to those cameras without having any additional hardware or software involved, something that's really game-changing. The next step within that production or the desirability of the industry is that inner ring. And we've got some great announcements coming up around partnerships, but it's really about getting the entire production running in the cloud. Having live production, whether that's for television, that can scale up and scale down as they need on any of these platforms like Amazon, for example, or with the Amazon Web Services or Google Cloud Platform. We're also partnering pretty heavily with a company called Grass Valley, which is a stalwart within the industry for live production. They have a fully cloud-enabled production system. So really what we see is you can enable any production you like with any kind of production tool you like using BirdDog as your source, management, and destination to make that happen. Just a couple of highlights on this trade show that we had. It's called NAB. It was in Las Vegas last week. We're really excited. We have had one of the busiest booths in the show. It was attended by around 50,000 people. While the numbers were down on a traditional year, the quality of people that were turning up to this show was all of the people that we needed. And we certainly couldn't have dealt with any more people at the booth. We were busy for the whole time with the full 13 staff that we had on the booth. You can see here we won a couple of awards. The thing that I'm really excited about with these awards is they're new products that we announced in new markets that we've announced. So we have a new on-camera monitor, and that's a new direction for BirdDog. And that won the best monitor recorder for the show. We also have our cloud-enabled editing system, which is called Cloud Connect, that partners up with Adobe. And that's into post-production for feature films and for TV commercials. That also won an award as well. So for us, that really galvanizes the fact that our innovation is not just for our existing product markets that we have and our existing product verticals. As we move further out into our roadmap, we're also getting a lot of interest and seeing some success with that. It really gives us a great deal of confidence as we move forward. Barry, do you want to talk a little bit about the performance?
Sure, Dan, thank you. And this was released last week in terms of our Appendix 4C for the 3 months and indeed the 9 months to 31 March 2022. So maybe I'll just draw out some highlights around that. In terms of our previous corresponding period or PCP, we've recorded 14.5% growth on our hardware SKUs or products shipped, and also similarly double-digit growth in terms of revenue. Most of you will recall that we are a US denominated invoicing business. We've got the global distribution channel that Dan briefly mentioned, on sale in over 100 countries. Every one of our invoices is in USD. And so therefore, you would have seen in the 4C last week that we talk about Aussie dollars because that's how we report them. But in brackets, we've also got our USD. So 23.1 million USD for the 9 months to 31 March with solid double-digit growth in both units and revenue. You will recall if you're a part of the convertible note or pre-IPO and IPO that we are very strongly focused on our inventory build, which de-risks our supply chain. And you would have heard me previously talk about 12 months and further in terms of putting purchase orders together such that we can secure our supply chain and de-risk the future. So that inventory build remains on track. In terms of key hires, Dan might touch on that, but we've had 5 hires in the last month, in the month of April, and 3 of those were in the US, and all of those in the US were customer facing. So we're really excited about what that will drive in terms of revenue. Dan's talked about key partnerships, and let's keep working through, Dan.
Thanks very much, Barry. You'll have to excuse my voice. I've actually come off that trade show talking for the whole week, so I normally have a little bit more power in my voice. In terms of growth strategy, Barry mentioned quite a bit about this in terms of what we're doing in terms of inventory growth and things. But really for us, there's some key areas that we're focusing on. Part of that is going through and building out our existing verticals, and that's around building out our staff and our go-to-market. We've got proven demand for our products, and we've got high-quality products in market. By optimizing that go-to-market, by building out our team, which is what we were just speaking about in terms of the US, we've expanded out our commercial customer-facing team. There's a huge amount of opportunities in growth just in that alone. Building out from there, NDI is the format of choice that we're using. And actually for us, we really are championing that moving forward. So a lot of our products that we bring out are all NDI enabled, and adding more and more features to that through our roadmap has been really key to our success for growth. Partnerships is something that we take very seriously. As a company, we certainly don't want to create a walled garden. For us, our cloud platform is a great example where we want people to bring their own tools, their own creative tools. You know, the people that are doing house of worship productions need a completely different tool to someone that's doing sports production or live television. So for us, we want people to work with our products in partnership with other vendors. And we've been fostering this for a number of years. We've got some great relationships with companies like Sharp NEC with commercial display panels. We've got some great announcements coming up with some of the largest organizations on the planet in terms of partnerships, which we'll talk about in a subsequent release. You can see with our products that we have over 50,000 pieces in market. And again, this partnership strategy for us is embedding direct connectivity with other products directly into those products that we already have in market. This not only brings our customers along with the journey, but also allows us to add on our cloud and software subscriptions to existing customers. I've mentioned briefly about people. In the USA, we spent the first half of this year really pushing in terms of getting the right people in the right place to ensure that we're poised for the best growth and best success we can there. And we're really confident that we got that team exactly where we need that. We're now pushing further with that in Europe and the UK, and we're really confident during the course of this year that as we expand out that team, we will get absolutely the most performance out of the commercial side of our company. The last thing is products. And I think, as I mentioned before, we're really excited about the awards that we've won, and the fact that that really shows that our roadmap is not only based on what we already have and just creating new versions of this. We've got a really solid roadmap that we're really excited about delivering. In fact, those 20 products that we already have that we've just announced is only the tip of the iceberg for this year. And that in turn is only the tip of the iceberg for our 5-year product roadmap. So once again, we're really excited about where the company's heading, and also really excited that as we bring out these products, they are very much accepted by and embraced by the industry and the verticals that we market in. I think that's the end of our presentation, and I think we're actually right on time. So we'll open this up now, Banjo, I think to Q&A. We're more than happy to talk about any of these discussion points to date, and we'll hand over to you.
Perfect. Thanks for the presentation, guys. Appreciate some of the insight into your company. Can you talk a little bit more about the concentration of your customer base?
Yeah, absolutely. So our customer base, one thing that we've been really, I think, focused on right from the very beginning is we didn't want to ring fence ourselves into a single part of the industry. So my background and the company's background really is in live television. And certainly some of our products look like they're very much in a broadcast space. But we've been very clear to make sure that our customers are actually really broad. And that very first slide that I showed with the breadth of customers only shows probably the more exciting ones. We actually have everything from secondary schools to people doing live YouTube streaming, right through the top tier of corporate and broadcast as well. So we have a very broad spread, and actually no one of our customers represents any more than 1% of the business as well.
Perfect. Thanks for that insight into your customer base. Another question I've got is, what is the general feeling in your industry post-COVID?
Yeah, so I think if you look at cameras, remote production, remote meetings and things, without a doubt, that all got a big bump with what's happened with COVID. If you look at Zoom as an example, which is one of our great partnerships that we have, and I neglected to mention that we had Zoom on our booth at the show recently. Everyone has definitely benefited in having telepresence remote workflows. But what's actually happened is that's really opened the door of what probably would have logically happened in 5 years' time. The fact that at the drop of a hat, everyone had to, within live television, had to make live production happen remotely, meant that technologies like ours were embraced. But it's also meant that that's now been improved. And two things happen with that. One is the flexibility is something they can't go back from. They have very much embraced that in either corporate AV meeting spaces, but also in live production. So really it's proven out of necessity that this is the next generation moving forward. But actually what it's now done is open up that path moving forward. So what we see now is really only the first step in where both the live television and AV spaces are going, where we're now network enabled. Now it's moving to internet and cloud enabled. So the big change is actually still to come. And what we've done is really given that a push along so that we're seeing that accelerate. It's also broken down barriers where traditionally our industries are fairly conservative around testing things. You know, maybe a 5-year program has been brought back into an 18-month program as far as testing and deploying. So we think it's really just the catalyst for things moving forward.
Perfect, thank you. What's the cross-selling between hardware and software opportunities for BirdDog?
Yeah, so this is probably one of the biggest announcements we've had at this show, the NAB show, is traditionally we've had our hardware products and our software products, but actually all along inside our hardware products has been a software enablement platform. And that's what we've just announced. So whilst we have our cloud platform, which is a subscription-based solution, we've now built the connectivity directly into every single one of our products. In fact, every product we've ever sold gets this enabled. And that allows us to cross-sell to existing customers and new customers, not only that hardware solution that gives them a tangible solution in the physical world, but also now they can sign up to our software platforms that allow them to connect to the cloud and virtual productions as well. So we're seeing moving forward the acceleration of that software enablement that really enables that cross-selling to happen and improve our margins overall as a business.
I think we've got time for just one more question. Given recent headlines globally, what cost inflation, if any, have you seen across your hardware products? And are these easily passed on to customers?
Yeah, so of course, everyone knows about supply chain. If you're trying to buy a car, it's hard to do. And it's the same thing for us to try to secure silicon chips. We make all our own hardware. And so, of course, there is challenges around that. Actually, with our convertible note, which is coming up to 12 months ago, right through to now, the use of funds has always been heavily skewed towards building up our inventory. And that's not really because we want to have a huge amount of inventory for any other reason than to insulate us from these fluctuations, both in price, but also in availability. So for us, of course, we have been impacted. We've been able to pass on some of that cost in a minor price increase to our customers, being very mindful that if we pass on too much of a cost increase, then we're going to make the products not necessarily attractive. But the combination of having that insulation of products in stock and having the ability to be a little bit flexible on pricing means that right now we're largely unaffected by a commercial side of things in terms of pricing with supply chain. And having that inventory in stock means that we're able to fulfill the needs for our customers as well.
Awesome. Thank you, Dan and Barry, for your presentation today. That concludes BirdDog's session. Appreciate your time, guys.
Thanks very much.
Thanks,
awesome. Thanks a lot.